complete set review. I'm Evan Irwin.
I'm Brad Nelson.
And we're here to talk about Modern Masters 2015. It's the new Modern Masters set. I kind of have a feeling we're going to be doing this every couple years.
I do too. I mean, especially if like this set looks great for limited. Now the first one looked unbelievable for just dumping the cards we need into Modern.
Right,
to make
for just open dollars.
Yeah,
just dollars.
The format needed more cards, like Magic's been exploding.
Right.
But this one looks like they toned that down and they made a great limited format. They want us to play with this set.
Yeah, absolutely.
Way more than the other one.
And it was really good. I mean, obviously, the limited format of the first one was not bad or anything. It's just that and people sort of have done some of this stuff where they look at the financial value of the set and like how it differs from the first one and how there's a lot of top end stuff and not a lot of bottom end stuff. Everybody and their mom is pissed that there's no Serum Visions in this set. Wizards.
We have, what is it?
That's a $10 common.
An F&M foil coming out, so go out to your F&Ms and get them.
That is not going to make up for a $10 common.
Yeah, sometimes.
Whatever. Either way, we're here to talk about all the white cards for Modern Master 2015, along with the colorless cards in the first half of the artifacts. For our blue set review, we're going to talk about the other half of the artifacts. For our black set review, we're going to talk about the first half of multicolor, and for our red set review, we're going to talk about the other half of multicolor. And lastly, for green, we're going to talk about the lands.
Yeah, and so this is the first time that our green set review just doesn't have all that extra weight added to it.
Yeah, we kind of like, there's kind of like that real sort of marathon-y end to the green set review that's not going to be here this time. We're going to get it all up front.
I agree.
You ready to get started?
I would love to get started because this is a big set.
Oh, it's a big one. I like it. But it's just a big bunch of nostalgia. For us, it's nostalgic. So you start off with Apostle's Blessing. This card came from New Phyrexia. Our first set review.
Our very first set review. This might have been our first card
ever that we ever spoke about.
I don't think so.
I'm not sure. Yeah. I think so. Actually, I think this was the first one.
Pie bet?
Oh, Lord. No. I'm already feeling bad about the draconic tutor thing that's not happening. That was my only pie bet. The only one.
Yep.
You don't even we're stupid coffee.
And we're square now, so like that's just the new one.
Whatever. Apostle's Blessing comes from New Phyrexia, uses Phyrexian mana. Phyrexian mana is all over the set. They reprinted almost every single one except Jataxian Probe. Wizards. Because, no one needed that card. But anyway, Apostle's Blessing is a brilliant blowout in limited. This is a great, great limited card.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's just this tricky card, and I love that Apostle's Blessing goes best in white decks, so you don't always have to lose 2 life.
Right.
But in pinches or in certain decks in this format, you're going to just main deck this even if you're not in white, and it's so difficult to play around.
Right.
So if your opponent just has a removal spell that you just have to protect your bomb for, and that's like how you're going to win against their certain deck, you can board this card in even if you don't want to main deck it. So I've loved Phyrexian mana cards just because they're great in the color that they are, but they cost a little pain than the other ones. And also for a lot of the players out there that just love paying life, like Todd Anderson, he's sadistic. He loved every single new Phyrexian mana card possible. He played every single one in Constructed except for like 2.
His life is truly a resource.
Yes.
Yes, truly. I mean, I like this card a whole lot. I like to put it in almost every deck. I think it's brilliant. It stops removal spells. It gets cards through their blockers or their field of blockers. Gets past their other evasion creatures if you have evasion creatures and you just need to deal those final points or trigger an ability or whatever it is. I like Apostle's Blessing just all over the place.
Yeah, and it has a slight also ability to go with it because New Phyrexian had a lot of artifacts, and the set has a ton of an artifact theme.
Yeah.
That it giving protection to the artifact is probably why they chose this one.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be super important. I mean, the fact that we have to split up artifacts into 2 different colors for the set review kind of tells you how many there are. You know what I'm saying? So let's keep moving with Arrest.
Did development.
Woo woo. He got that joke in there. He's real proud of himself.
Mm-hmm.
We have Arrest, which is a fantastic limited card. You always play it. It's good. It's been reprinted who knows how many times. It's here because it helps shape the limited environment.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an all-around nuts and bolts magic card. Like, what, bread and butter?
We can't go down the bread and butter, meaty potatoes, slippery slopes. I mean, we've been down that. We've had set reviews that have had these weird little themes. Everything was meat and potatoes, everything was bread and butter, and Arrest is certainly one of those cards.
And Modern Masters has a lot of activated abilities, so pacifism isn't that good in it.
Correct. You really need something that just shuts down everything and everything that card can do. Easy early pick and limited, and always play it if you're in white.
I think I can agree on that.
I'm glad that you agree. Battle Grace Angel from Shards of Alara. Woo woo.
Battle Grace and I go way back.
I do go way back, don't you?
Yeah, we go way back. This is the last major deck that I played before the world knew about, the FF Freak or whatever, before the Pro Tour.
Right.
There was a block format where it was just shards and what was this at Conflux?
Conflux, yeah.
Yeah, I played that block constructed format a ton, and now I'm going to admit something that I'm not proud of.
Oh, here we go.
I'm very proud of it, but kids
All right.
don't do it at home. I used to play this block format for a living. Like this was how I paid rent. It was Naya Planeswalkers with 4 Battlegrace Angels, and the secret of the deck was to never cast battle. Everyone played the mirror. The deck was so good.
Right.
That the secret was to hold your Battlegrace Angel until the last moment and play it when they're like exhausted, they can't kill it.
Right.
Because you could beat through anything with 5 lifelink damage.
Right.
And I loved Baneslayer Angel a couple years later for the same reason. But I used to split premiere events with myself with this deck. I don't do that anymore. I don't do it anymore.
All right.
No, and kids don't do that.
That's right.
Wizards will get mad at you. I've gotten emails.
Cut that crap out, Brad.
Yeah.
Wow, talk about living on the edge, buddy.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I sent once one of the tournaments crashed, and I sent in a redemption for both of my accounts.
You are shameless.
Yeah, that's what they caught me.
Oh my God. You know me and this other account that I play against myself.
And then I started to just play one at a time.
Just onesies.
Yeah.
God. Wow. Okay, today we learned, didn't we?
Well,
Battlegrace Angel, obviously a huge bomb. It has evasion. It gets you 5 life a turn. It provides Exalted the turn it comes down. Like, this card was a bomb rare in Shards of Alara. Now, it's not the biggest bomb. Of course, it's Modern Masters, and we have a lot of really powerful cards, but it is very, very good.
No, I mean, there's a lot of cards that got downgraded from rare to uncommon, even down all the way to common in this set.
Wow.
And this is a rare for a reason.
Yeah.
This doesn't seem like a lot. It would never make constructed just because of how vulnerable it is. And it's not a Baneslayer, right? It can't block.
And I don't think it ever really... It did see a little bit of constructed play, didn't it?
Block constructed, but I don't think it saw any...
That's why.
Yeah,
I remember seeing it on those tournament tables.
Didn't see standard, but the thing about this card is it is a limited bomb. And I mean, it takes over game immediately. You play it, you attack with 1 creature, it gains lifelink, it has this huge race effect. And I mean, like, this is the kind of card, like, if I got to pick one card, and I know this is the most powerful card in the set, it's like my favorite card in the set. Like, I just want to play it.
Very, very, very good.
Yeah, it's busted.
It's superly good. Always play it. It's fantastic. Celestial Purge coming back.
Yeah, like, I just remember reading Radiant Purge from Dragons of Tarkir and just being like, oh, it's kind of like a Celestial Purge, but it's not even close. And how much...
Right.
Like, I don't want this in Modern Masters. I want this in Origins. Like, Celestial Purge was like such a format defining card. It was like the Glare of Heresy for like a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah.
But way better. Like, Glare's good now because everyone's playing Fleece Mains and Elspeths and Rhinos.
Exactly.
But like, Celestial Purge was my jam. Like, I just loved this card. It was so good.
The card was sweet. It was always saw an infinite amount of play. It's obviously a fantastic sideboard card. Not something you really main deck, but you know, it should always come in against either of these colors. And it's just great. I mean, you know, again, it's just like if you play with Glare of Heresy these days, you know the feeling, and this is just, you know, what you have
It's
for
just
black
better.
and red
It's 2
tournaments.
different colors.
Exactly, not just the
Not-
one.
Yeah. Card's unbelievable.
2 for 1. Conclave Phalanx.
Oh,
There
wow,
we go.
whoa. I got to reread this one. I haven't seen this one since
Ooh,
Ravnica,
The Convokians.
which was a great limited set. Man, every time I see Modern Masters, there's one fallacy that Wizards doesn't realize, is every time I see Modern Masters, I don't want to buy Modern Masters. I want to buy, like, the nostalgic draft set that I used to play, you know?
Yep.
Like, I just want Ravnica boxes, and then we'll draft Ravnica now.
I would be okay drafting Ravnica. That was fun.
Yeah.
One time in a Worlds, I brought a box of Ravnica, a box of Guild Pact, and a box of Dissension.
Wow, I bet you were everyone's best friend.
I was kind of everyone's best friend.
Yeah, you were
Me
such a
and-
big deal.
It was us. It was me, Forsyth, Randy Bueller, BDM. We all played
Who are
like
those
Ravnica.
guys?
Yeah, I know those guys. I don't know.
Yeah.
Somebody. And we all sat around drafting Ravnica, and it was great.
That'd be great.
Yeah, it was super fun. And Conclave Phalanx is a fine guy. He's okay.
No, this card's terrible. Next.
All right.
Don't
it's
play
bad.
that card.
Don't play
That
it.
card's bad. That's a filler of Modern Masters.
Speaking of a filler, I don't know how good Homunculus was. I remember underestimating this card and having it being better than I expected it to be.
I mean, you can ask Brian Kibler. He top-aided a Pro Tour with this card.
See? There
Yeah.
you go. So that's why I thought it was bad at first, and then I was like, oh, right. That card seems pretty good now.
Yeah, and this is the kind of card that is going to be pretty bad in sealed, but something you draft around in limited. So for like day 2 of, you know, GP Vegas, like there's going to be people trying to pick up all of these.
Right.
And I don't remember the name. It's the 1/3 Exalted for blue-white. I don't remember all these names. We'll get to it.
I know. We'll get there. But I know what you're
But you just
referring
get to this like really aggressive curve, and there's a lot of like equipment, like the Living Artifact 1 mana
Mortar
one.
Pod?
That one and then the other one, the 1-mana one that makes a 1/1.
Right. I can't remember. Sorry.
This, if anything, this shows how terrible our memories are getting, how old we are.
We are totally old, and this whole time
Yeah.
we're going to be with this one card, do this one thing.
Yeah, at the 45-minute break, we're gonna have to take nap time in this video.
Yeah, we're going to have to slow back, get some Metamucil in, like really get the system going. Anyway, it's a card you really draft around. It's not a card you can play with sealed, but, again, it did well in its environment back in the day.
Yep.
Daybreak Coronet. We call this the reprint that is necessary because it costs $1 million.
Yeah. Or 35.
Whatever.
Which is kind of $1 million.
Well, I mean, for what it sort of does, it's one of those things. It's like, again, it's a random future sight card, and there's lots of them, and they just get stupidly expensive. I mean, my God, how much is Mind Sensor or whatever now? Haven Mind Sensor?
Oh yeah, that card's expensive.
Yeah,
too.
they didn't reprint that in this, and
Yeah.
it's just uncommon. It's like $10 or $15. It's like, dude, really?
If we only knew things that we knew then, I used to throw these cards away after drafts.
I know, right?
It's like it's not even worth walking up to the vendor to sell.
I just feel like somewhere in my garage, there's just like this huge stack of Serum Visions just waiting on me. Just waiting.
He just goes and checks every day.
Just look, I got boxes here randomly, and I was like looking through. I got so many random Kamigawa commons. I wish there was some random Kamigawa common that would blow up, but no, it had to be fifth on, didn't it? Anyway, we're speaking a lot not about Daybreak Coronet because there's not really a lot to say. It's not built for this limited environment. It's built to be reprinted so people can have access to the card more. I mean, do you think anyone can actually play this in limited?
I don't even.
Is
it possible? I think the only way you can do it is no. It falls off. I was thinking arrest your own guy, play Daybreak Coronet, and bounce the arrest.
Right.
But then it falls off.
Exactly.
So no, I don't think. Maybe there's an enchantment.
Like you draft this, or you open this and you're happy because it's money.
Yeah,
because it's worth something.
Yeah, it's nice when you're at like your local store drafting, but like no one's gonna be happy to have this in their sealed pool at GB Vegas.
Yeah, only for the value. That's it. That's it. That's all you got. That's the only angle. There's no like, oh, well, maybe I can put this together and this scenario and that. No.
And maybe I'm too competitive, and I bet like there's gonna be a couple people that'll be like, yeah, I just opened like $100 worth of cards.
Yeah.
But if I can't play with those $100 worth of cards, I would just mulligan and take 5 packs instead of 6.
Well, Mr. Platinum Pro, you live somewhere else that other people ain't living.
I mean, I live exactly in the same city as you.
Fine. Cool card. Dispatch. I love this card. I thought this card was super cool back in Scars of Mirrodin. It's still super cool. I love the fact that Metalcraft is being put into Modern Masters. I think that's a really cool way to do it. I'm glad they didn't bring Infect. I know they tried, but they didn't.
They were going to bring Infect?
They were going to put Infect in the set, and then they were like, no. But there is Proliferate in the set, but there's no longer Infect, which I think is good because everything kind of revolves around Infect if you have Infect in the set.
Yes, we've seen that already happen.
We sure did.
And yeah, they brought Proliferate back, but yeah, I like how they have a Wither theme instead, because Wither works great with Proliferate and
absolutely
stuff like that. But Dispatch is going to work with the Metalcraft, a lot of the artifacts. There's a lot of artifact creatures that we already saw, Court Homunculus.
Yep.
And
there's going to be lots more.
Yeah, and this is the like build around me card again. Like a lot of these cards are going to be awesome in the one person's draft deck and terrible in everyone's sealed pool.
Yeah, it's going to be really
unless you
bad.
open a ton of artifacts.
Yeah, you need to have a good 7 to 8 artifacts or so
13.
to even 13-ish to really start relying on this thing doing anything but tapping a creature.
Yep.
And it's not really worth a card if that's all it's doing. But it is absolutely worth a card if you can trigger off that Metalcraft because that is unbelievably powerful.
Yeah, exile the creature. They don't get to go search for land. They're not. They didn't have a path to exile. They're dispatched.
They are dispatched. Done. Elish Norn, Grand Cenobite. Do you know, because I saw this today, do you know how much the Judge Foil with the Phyrexian language is?
$200.
$500.
No way.
500, and we're sold out. $500, people.
That is absurd.
I was like, what? Wow. It's like, it is really like the most badass promo.
It is cool, yeah.
It is unbelievably badass, but like, whoa, that's incredible. So this is definitely a money creature, is unbelievably powerful. This card is like ridiculously bomby and limited, obviously. You just more or less wrath their team or make your team unbelievably large. Like, it is just,
this is the kind of nuts. Yeah, this is the card that just makes winning very easy.
Yeah.
And there's no skill involved. Don't be proud of what you did to your opponent. Just do it. Shake their hand. Feel bad for them. Commiserate for a second with them. Yeah.
Give them a second to scoop.
And then just be like, I am so sorry I did that to you. I
had 7 mana in this thing.
You know what? You start the club. I'll have my next opponent join it after the round's over. It'll be okay.
Here's your membership card.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Wow.
The card is dirty and limited. Just filthy.
It is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, just the scenarios you create this card, whether you like slam it down as soon as you have 7 mana or you like do some math to like wipe their board when you play it, like it's just nasty.
No, you say I have 1 plains, 2 plains, 3 plains, 4 plains, an island, another island. Oh, and there's a dual land to play it.
Dead! You're dead!
Yeah.
It is awesome.
And it even gets value. Even if like they kill it immediately, it's going to kill whatever creatures that are too low.
You're going to wipe out some things. Something always dies when Elvish Thorn hits the battlefield. Just
mostly their spirits.
Yeah, mostly their will to continue playing. That's what happens. Fortify. There was a really interesting list on Reddit where they were talking about like the top 8 tricks or the top 8 cards that you're not really going to be prepared for in this limited environment, and this was one of the cards that they listed. And it's like you just never really think about this card existing. It has 2 different modes, so you can really play it in 2 different ways, and you can get blown out depending on the way that they play it.
And one of the things that we're used to in this constructed format for anyone that's been playing a lot of cons draft is most of the pump effects like this are to attacking creatures. So you can't really play like a defensive trumpet blast, but you can play a defensive fortify that gives your team +2/+0, or gives your attacking creatures +0/+2. So it practically has 4 different abilities in the sense that like it depends on who's attacking who, and it can get really dicey sometimes with a card like this. So like,
I mean, I know I've accidentally tried to use Trumpet Blast defensively,
and then Did you die?
I died. Yeah. I died really fast. And if it actually been playable, I could have like wiped most of the team when they were attacking me. And this actually gives you that ability.
Yeah, I watched Jacob Wilson. This is one of the moments where I was just like, yeah, that kid's way better than me. When he like Trumpet Blast his opponent's attacking creature to then smite the monster set.
Oh my god.
Yeah, just like Trumpet Blast, smite it.
There you go.
Like, well, you still lost the game because that's where you're at in the game, but that was still an amazing play.
But no one would see that unless they're like super, super, super good.
Yep.
And I love that. That's why I love just being around like the Pro Tours and Grand Prix and stuff, around the top tables and hanging out with people like yourself and all those channel guys or whatever.
What are you talking about? When like BBD, Todd, Tom, and I are in the office doing versus videos, like we say the stupidest things.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about like an actual tournament for actual dollars and prizes and things, because I just love to watch good players play Magic, basically, and I think that's really how and sort of what coverage is focused on, and like you just kind of get that feeling when people are super good at Magic. It's like they just have it. They just some people you're just like, wow, that kid is just so nuts.
Yeah, and sometimes like when there's just conversations, like I've just noticed people just watching in awe of those conversations. Like I just look around, there's like a crowd.
And Fortify lets you put yourself in positions where that happens.
Yeah.
To where you look awesome. Hikari Twilight Guardian. Oh man, we bringing back some serious nostalgia up in here.
Yeah, our first rare to uncommon though.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, in terms of like. Well, in terms of like modern Magic design, like it just Kamigawa just aged real bad. It just had like those few like like the Sensei's Divining Tops and like the Sakura Tribe Elders, and then there was just like really bad stuff.
They had the first Titans, right? Like that's the one thing that Kamigawa did have.
Legendary Dragons were great.
Yeah, the Legendary Dragons were the first Titan-esque Magic cards. They're the new. They paved the way to a lot of awesome cards.
Yeah, they got some of that. What do they call it? Is it Soulbound or whatever? When it dies, you bring back a spirit.
Soulbound, yeah.
Soulbound, yeah. And those are cool and all. It's kind of a sub theme through the set, which is fine. But at the end of the day, it's a Sarah Angel. It's a 5-mana 4/4 flyer that if you have those Spirit or Arcane spells, I don't know if they actually printed any Arcane spells in this set.
No, they did.
They did, great.
Yeah.
Well, and regardless, if you have any of those spells, you can trigger it. And if the worst case scenario, I just have a 5-mana 4/4 flyer, that's okay.
All right, here's the question. So, do you know how Ojutai teaches everyone anticipate? Where does he go when he blinks out?
I don't.
An otherworldly journey.
Oh,
which is also in the set that has Arcane. Boom! Got him.
Wow. Thanks.
Yeah.
Good.
Magic cards are actually really easy to design if you like simplify it that way. It's like, we'll put this ability on a card that also has that ability.
Oh, the other card.
And then people think it's clever.
Right.
Next.
That's very good. Indomitable Archangel, another one that went from Mythic down to Rare.
Yeah, which also just has the worst Metalcraft ability of any Metalcraft card of all time.
Yeah, it's not good.
It just if it gave itself.
If it gave itself, man, that would be nuts.
I also like all the people that just started playing the last couple of years be like, "What's Shroud?
What is that?
What does that mean?
Yeah, I know,
right? I can't target it. That's why would I play that?
I know, right? It's supposed to be hexproof.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, as a 4-mana 4/4 flyer, I don't really care what the Middlecraft text says at that point. Yes, it's going to matter in some certain matchups, probably more in draft, because you're able to kind of build this artifact deck, and obviously that's something you want in it. But if I'm in white, I want a 4-mana 4/4 flyer.
No, yeah, this card's insane.
Card is fan-freaking-tastic.
It's just this is
efficient.
like new modern. Yeah, like this card would just be so good in any limited form. I mean, we have
Any
this.
of 'em.
Well, to be fair, we have this exact card in standard
Sure.
that just has a way bigger upside, but it's not even that big of a difference, right? Like 3 damage for killing a card, whatever.
You mean Thunderbrick region
Yeah.
or whatever? Like, yeah, I mean, but it has a way better upside, I think.
Well, of course it has a way better upside. It's a
Right.
dragon, and angels suck.
We're going to get revised Angel on you
I'm just
now.
trying to get you as much hate mail as possible.
Me hate mail? you tell yourself, buddy.
This isn't on my YouTube page.
Fine. Next, Iona, Shield of Emeria. Here is one of those cards that needed to be reprinted. It's like very, very expensive. Casual players absolutely love it, and I can definitely tell why. Angels are awesome.
Angels are great.
Angels are great. And big, ridiculous
And
9
being
mana. This is where you hit that weird, like, if you feel you could get to 9 mana, maybe.
No,
but
no,
9
in this,
mana
in this
limited
set,
is
this set you can actually do it pretty easily, actually.
because you got the Eldrazi.
All the Eldrazi drone creatures for
Right.
the Eldrazi.
Right.
And there's like, what is it, Palladium Mirror? You have Palladium Mirror, Everflowing Chalice,
Okay.
the Sphere of...
Sphere of the Suns or whatever?
Sphere of the Suns. I was
Yep.
going to get all 3 of them, and I
Oh, he was so close.
messed up. But yeah, there's Rampant Growth. Like, Rampant Growth doesn't help for this, but like, there's all of the drone creatures in the set.
Right.
So like, you'll be able to get to this mana because they want to keep printing the Eldrazi, but they don't want them to suck as bad as they did in Modern Masters 1.
Yeah.
Because you open an Emrakul and you're like,
Lol.
yeah, okay, pass it, you know.
Right.
And so you can build around, you know, at least, what are they called? Kozilek and Ulamog.
Yeah.
Emrakul's still a little difficult to get to.
Hey, he's kind of a stretch.
Yeah.
But the others definitely can be reaching. If you have some Eldrazi creatures, you should be able to make Iona happen. And obviously, it's a monstrous 7/7 flyer that they can't even cast spell. Just
You
shuts
pick
people out
their
of the game.
half of their deck that probably has the removal.
I would argue that Elder Storm's a little bit more impacting just because, like, you know, normally when it hits the board, just like things just happen. But Iona can just end the game very shortly thereafter.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, but this was just a card printed for the sets that need it because for some reason people like still playing this card.
Oh, they love playing this card.
I hate it.
This is a
I like
casual
playing
all-star.
Magic.
Oh, it's a casual all-star. Let them enjoy their weird casual cards. Kami of Ancient Law, man. Give me all a Kamigawa. I love Kamigawa. Kamigawa block was my jam. That was the set I really came back into.
Oh, really?
Like, I came back to Magic the day that they spoiled. Oh my God.
Moloku.
No.
Cranioplating. Cranial extraction.
No, the one, the skull clamp.
Skull clamp. Ugh.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's when I came back to Magic. And I was like, oh my God, this card's broken. But I haven't played Magic in like 7 years. I don't know what's going on or whatever.
And that's when I got into Magic, and I just thought that's how it was.
Exactly.
Like that's just was the normal to me. I was just like, yeah, I love these sharpshooter, disciple of the Vault Ravager Skull Clamp decks.
Can't believe I remember Skull Clamp. But regardless, so I kind of got into Magic a little bit, you know, over Darksteel and over Fifth Dawn. But then like Kamigawa, like it was my jam. I was all about it. I did really well in a limited
But they
Grand
also
Prix.
printed busted equipment.
They printed really busted the equipment of these things. Kami of Ancient Law was a good, efficient creature that did just what you wanted it to do. It's a bear. At the end of the day, it's just a bear.
I
But it's
jammed
good.
like 3 of these in the sideboard of all my Zoo decks back then, right?
Yeah.
Like that's when Zoo was around and you had this card.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's a functional reprint of this as well.
Yeah, there was. In,
Okay,
like
yeah.
one of the M sets or something.
Yeah, but like Kami is a great card. In this set, it's best against its own cards. Like there's Narcolepsy and Arrest, and there's a couple others I'm obviously forgetting.
Right.
But
But still, it's a fine man, and
No, yeah.
a bear's a bear. You need 2 drops in your deck to fill out your curve, and this is nothing to be ashamed of. It's not something you really pick highly in draft or anything, but it's a card you're not unhappy to play.
no, the set just wanted a couple answers to these enchantments because the set doesn't really have a lot of them, and they don't want to have a ton of artifact removal. They have enough, but not on bodies. Like creatures with bodies that destroy artifacts just become too good in limited formats, like Scrap Melter.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just always auto-including your main deck and stuff like that. So
Yep.
I like having Kami as opposed to come into play effects.
Absolutely. Core Duelist. What's up, Core Duelist? What's going on, Brad?
It's an interesting one. I'm not gonna like.
It was always interesting. It was always super neat, and it always never really got there for me.
No, it was always super high variance, limited, constructed, whatever it was. It was
Yep.
super high variance.
Because if you got it, oh,
Yeah.
card is nuts, and if you didn't get it,
Yeah, and this card was right around the time where we all started like not being impressed by Double Strike.
Yeah.
Like we got bored of it.
Well, this is where we started just like, really? Like, you're gonna, like, I mean, it was sort of just like protection from X way back in the day. We're talking like in Ice Age days. Like, that was one of those lauded things. Like, just like Land Walk was one of those, oh my God, if you give anything Forest Walk, like, it has to be super rare and crazy overcosted. Just like for a while, if anything has Double Strike, it has to be super rare and crazy overcosted. Yeah. And they just kept pushing it down, and now it's just like, okay,
Yep, it's a thing. And this is, again, another card. Don't play this in sealed. I don't care if you have 3 equipment. Don't play it in sealed.
Dude,
you have to play it in a very dedicated white aggressive deck with a ton of equipment, artifact theme, ton of dispatches. Like, you need to be the beatdown. So just do not play 1/1s for 1 in sealed, period.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even, like, Llanowar Elf in core sets, I'm okay with that.
Llanowar Elf is different.
Yeah,
it's a
Llanowar Elf
whole different thing. But not just like dudes who are meant to attack.
Or Elvish Mystic, excuse me.
Oh, yeah,
We'll
get
use-
it right.
yeah.
God. Because there's people out there who didn't even know what you were talking about.
I know, I apologize to you.
I know, right? Llanowar Elves were cooler.
Yeah.
Way cooler.
We'll record a PSA.
We will. Leyline of Sanctity. This card has gotten stupidly expensive. I had no idea.
Yeah, well, because it's so good against like so many decks
Burn.
in 2 formats. Yeah, Burn in Modern. It's also getting pushed in Legacy because like Legacy keeps like just building. People love that format still, and it's so good. Like, I mean, I play 4 of these in Sneak and Show. I don't care.
Nice.
Like, I don't really have much. I can't really change my game plan with Sneak and Show. It's not like I'm going to be boarding into something new. Like, I'm going to be doing the same thing.
Yep.
So I might as well have very high impact cards and bad matchups, and this is great against like Belcher, Storm, Burn decks, some discard decks like Jund.
Yep.
And
The
you know,
green black decks with
there-
Liliana and stuff.
yeah, like pretty much this card was sold out for so long in certain games that I just had CVMs like 4 just stolen from him for
Just
like
forever.
8 months because until he could get in stock for me to actually get a set for myself.
Yeah.
Just had his the whole time.
Yeah, card is just like super crazy playable. It's a free spell basically. It's just free. Yeah, it has a mana cost, but it's really free. You're trying to mulligan to it if you're playing against a certain matchup, and it's obviously very powerful every time you get it.
Yeah.
So I'll take my free Ivory Masks that are just like stupidly expensive. This is one of those cards. These are the cards that you open and you're like, yes, paid for my pack, you know, and then some. Mighty Leap. Oh, it's mighty. It's a leaping elefante.
I can't even remember what set this came from.
I want to say it was Scars, but it doesn't really matter. Because it was
doesn't
bad
really
then.
matter.
I mean, not bad. It's just not great. It's a fine combat trick. It's a fine way to give your guy evasion to get over, you know, their ground pounders or whatever that are holding you back. It was always sort of like an okay trick.
Yeah, this is an okay one that, like, if you're trying to use defensively, you get 2 for 1. If you, pretty much what it is I win the game if my creature gets flying, it'll kill you.
Sure.
And that's usually what you use this card for. Or it's just a normal generic pump trick where you attack with your 3/3, they block with their 3/3, and you're like, pump my guy.
Or they block with their 4/4, and you're like, eh,
Yeah.
you know, look at how I can trade card for card, and that's how that stuff
super
happens.
super boring magic, but it's a risky pump spell. It's not really that good. This is so much worse than Brute Force that we'll get to. Brute Force is one of my favorite pump spells of all time.
Card's amazing. It's also in sort of a better color for that type of effect anyway. But, you know, if you're playing white-green, it helps get your green ground pounders up in the air. I mean, there's some good parts of this card, but again, it's just sort of on the lower scale. You know,
All
it's
parts
just
of the buffalo. I mean, elephant.
Elefante. Beer and Crusader. Speaking of Double Strike being like, you know, lower to the point where it's like, okay. It's like, okay.
This card was busted.
This card was good.
This card, yeah, I mean, there were certain times when in the
Yeah.
format, but like,
Well,
this-
you know, when you had like the swords running around and this guy,
yeah,
it got real.
Put a Sword of War and Peace on it, and then you're just like, what color is it? White. Yeah, white's the only one that could deal with it, but
Right.
white had a lot of good removal then.
Of course.
Or not War and Peace. What's the color?
There was
Blue.
One Piece and there
Blue.
was Sword in a Body and Mind.
Yeah. But I was thinking like when this card could only be targeted by blue cards, it was, I guess Jace bounced it because Jace did everything.
Of course he did. He did everything all the time. But
This card did get overshadowed by Cobblade for most of its career.
yeah, totally. And I always expected this card to be like super huge and crazy big and lots of play, and then like, oh, Jace the Mind Sculptor and stupid Hawks and whatever,
Yeah.
Squadron Hawks for the win and stuff.
We did play this in a GP though, in Cobblade, and it was pretty sweet.
Nice.
Bunch of equipment, yeah.
Everything was played in Cobblade at one point, and then it was Cobblade with red, Cobblade with black, blah blah blah. It's
Was
ridiculous.
there a Cobblade with green?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it was called Mythic.
There you go. So otherwise, it's a really good card. It has the right protections from obviously black removal. It's able to get through their big green monsters, are able to block their big green monsters forever. It has double strikes, so any pump spells just get that much better.
Yeah, it's just a good card. Like if you're supposed to be the white player, play this card.
You play it not close. You always play it in every deck you're playing white. It's just you just do. You don't not. Mirror Entity, another you just do. You don't not. Card is dumb. Card is way better in limited than Mirror and Crusader is, because if you have any sort of team at all and any mana at all, it's just like ridiculous.
Yes,
it's just ridiculous.
Also, this card has led. Now I think the Larian's good for it. This card has led to so many like judge calls where I'm just like, it's not going to go my way. It's not going to go my way. Or no, not this card. Sorry, I'm thinking the wrong one. I'm thinking Mirror Weave.
Yeah.
But I played Mirror Weave with Mirror Entity all the time.
Yes,
so I'm just still having like nightmares of Mirror Weave.
They put a lot of confusing stuff, and that was back with Revel Arc, and there was Revel Arc and Mirror Entity and Mirror Weave, and
there's some combo decks that you could do.
There was some crazy combo decks, but at the end of the day, Mirror Entity was a limited bomb and always has been. I don't really think this was printed so much for like money reasons as much as it was just like good limited card that you want in your
it's
decks.
just a great limited card.
Yep.
It's fun.
Super good. Pick it early, always play it. Moonlit Strider, not super good. You don't always play it. But it's okay. It's okay.
It's pretty bad. It's really bad. It even had damage.
Soul Shift. It wasn't Soul Bond.
Bad,
it was
right?
Soul Shift. Soul Bond was the.
Yeah, it's Soul Bond
the
now.
Innistrad thing.
It's Soul Bond now.
Well, it is now, but make
You
relationship.
gotta go with it.
Make relationship.
Oh yeah,
that was the best. But anyway, Moonlit Strider was a card from Kamigawa, and it brings back good old-fashioned memories for me. It's still pretty bad though. You're playing 4 mana for that one.
This just shows you how bad Kamigawa actually was, and how Evan's a crazy person for liking it.
God, I loved it.
It's so bad. Look at this. This is a card they chose to highlight from the set.
Bring it. I don't know if they're choosing it to highlight it for the set. I'm pretty sure they're doing it for like various filler reasons.
No, they didn't have any. That's why Kamigawa was filler, and they're like, well, we have to have every set.
Kamigawa, like, God, you've ever played the 3rd set? It's like sad. It's really sad. It makes you want to hurt yourself. Mirrorsmith, this card was awesome. I loved it from the moment I saw it. I mean, any card that makes more guys based on certain conditions is almost just always good. You always want to make more tokens, more 1/1s even. It's not like 0/1s or anything. Like, this card is good, it's quality. You have a ton of artifacts to be able to use with this card, and you always play it if you have like just any sort, because not only is it a 2-mana 2/1, which is fine. It's on the curve, it's your bear. But if you have some number of artifacts, which this set is absolutely chock full of, you get all this value out of it.
Yeah, this was by far the best of the Smiths. Like, they had a cycle of 5 in the set, and this was just above and beyond the best, even though the red one could kill the Mirrorsmith. That's why red was the other one, because it dealt 1 to everything. But Mirrorsmith is going to see a lot of awesome things, and mostly the best thing about this card is when you're like choked for Metalcraft, this helps you get there.
Right.
And that's one of the big things. Like, what's it called? Rusted Relic is in the set.
Yep.
And he loved Mirrorsmith because like they always work together to get him to be a 5/5.
Oh, absolutely. Rusted Relic is great, and we'll probably get to that. Not this review, but next review, which is fine. Oblivion Ring, amazing. I love that the fact that Oblivion Ring came out in Lorwyn, and it was like just like this. Everyone flipped out over how good the design was. Like, as soon as you saw Oblivion Ring, as soon as you understood it, you were like, oh. Like, this should have been in Magic forever. This should have been in Magic since, 10 years ago before it was printed in Lorwyn. Like, it should have been in Magic from the start, because it's so good at what it does. It's so good at defining white in terms of like temporarily answering something.
Yep.
It's so flavorful in terms of the Oblivion Ring and getting something exiled while it has the ring around it. Like, I loved everything about this card from the minute I saw it.
Yeah, and I'm curious why they didn't go with Banishing Light, just for the fix that they have for limited play. Since this card is one that you can abuse by like
you can infinitely loop it with 2 of them.
Well, you can infinitely loop with Oblivion Rings,
right?
Or not with 2. It has to be 3.
Has to be 3.
Yeah, because one just gets stuck under the other.
Right.
One. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's 3, if there's 3 and your name is Luis Scott Vargas, you can break Moto. That's the joke.
Exactly.
But Banishing Light can't target your own stuff, as well as this has a trigger. So you can like play it, and if you have a way to destroy it or blink it immediately, the card's gone forever.
Right.
So like Banishing Light is the fix from that. But they went with Oblivion Ring. I'm interested.
Well, right. I mean, this is. I can just sort of hear the argument of like this is an expert set. It's for very in how they describe like franchise players, like who are very just into Magic and know all the ins and outs, care about the fact that it uses the stack. A lot of people just don't know that when you play Oblivion Ring, if you kill the Oblivion Ring with its first trigger on the stack, then whatever you exile goes away forever.
Yeah.
Or if you're able to sack it or return it to your hand or whatever you want to do. And so those types of really advanced tricks. That was the reason Banishing Light came into being, but that's also, I think, the reason they put it in this set, because they let people kind of have that fun of, let me show you how I can play with a stack, let me show you how this card can do some really cool things that Banishing Light can't, and I think that's neat.
I agree.
Cool. Otherworldly Journey, and if we really had to say it, Oblivion Ring is always playable and limited, because
It's playing every single time.
It's amazing, answers everything. Otherworldly Journey, man, I just love it. I love all good Kamigawa. This was a good Kamigawa card. This saw tournament play. It was good. It was good. It wasn't great. It was okay. I didn't say it was great.
It's great and
I
limited.
wasn't defining any formats.
Yeah.
But it saw some play.
All right.
And I enjoyed it.
First thing you need to do with this card, if it's possible, this will make you the happiest you'll ever be playing Magic, is get to 5 mana and invoke a Muldrifter. I'll let you figure it out yourself. Yeah, I'll let you figure out that interaction yourself.
I mean, note that you can get rid of their creature. I mean, sure, it's going to come back with a counter, but when you need to get rid of a blocker, that's a thing. Just exiles a creature, not your creature. Makes your creatures bigger, helps trigger certain things, helps get around certain removal. It does wait until the next end step before the card actually comes back, and sometimes that matters for sorcery effects or certain type of sweeper effects. There was a lot of play to this card, and because it returns at the beginning of the next end step, if you, like at the end of their turn, you Otherworldly Journey your guy, it's going to stay out your entire turn.
And then if you Wrath.
Exactly. And then your guy's going to come back with a counter,
Well,
and there
I guess if you All is Dust or Savage Twister.
Exactly. Savage Twister. Oh, card's so good. Won a GPT with that card.
Did you?
I did.
How'd you do at the GP?
I didn't win it. But yeah, Otherworldly Journey, again, it's as sort of a pseudo trick. Again, it's better than Mighty Leap, but not a lot. But it is better.
They're super different cards. Like this is more like Mighty Leap is for the aggressive deck. This is for like you pair this with cards that have come into play abilities, tricky interactions, like Tide Hellscullers, Muldrifters, Murderous Redcaps. I know they're not all in the set,
oh my God.
but I can't think of the ones that are.
Muldrifter is, oh my God, yes.
Oh yeah,
Otherworldly Journey and a Muldrifter is just,
You draw 4 cards and you have a 3/3 and you say go and you're like, ha!
It's just,
It's so good.
Absolutely terrific. And Otherworldly Journey is a very, very good card and much better than the mediocre kind of pump spells like Mighty Leap. Raise the alarm. Woo woo. Raise it.
Yeah, I think we're all sick of this card by now. I don't know what it's going to do in this set, but we've seen it enough. Raise the alarms, trigger my Ascendancy, untap my creatures, draw, discard, stoke the flames, draw, discard.
Horland Outburst. We get it. I mean, they want token decks to be a thing right now. They are a thing. They'll go away. We won't have to deal with them for another couple years, and then this card will come back at some point, and we'll have to deal with it all over again.
Yep.
So, but this card is always very, very playable. It provides you 2 chump blockers if you need it. It allows you to get the beats in and like to keep mana up, held up on their turn.
Yep.
Like, oh, you're not doing anything? Great. I'll make some dudes, and then I'll just kind of start getting you.
And
there's a lot of versatility in this card.
Yeah, and to be fair, this is a really good card when you're short on 2-drops. Because it acts better than a bear. Like it's just better than a 2/2 generic creature. And when you really need something like that, that's great, because sometimes it can be double chump block, sometimes it just gives you 2 creatures, but there's also a lot of sacrifice in this set. So like cards like this are going to pair really well with black.
Absolutely. So very good card, does a lot of cool things. Pick it early and play it often. Sky Hunter Skirmisher. This one was from 5th Dawn.
And it was like a really good uncommon.
It was super good uncommon, and they've kind of downgraded it because, again, Double Strike.
It doesn't do anything.
Because, again, they thought Double Strike was like, oh my God, it's not.
I just remember back then when I would be at like 10 and my opponent would double pump this card, and I'd just be like, drop the cards, just like, how is this Magic now? And then now my opponents just Teamer, Battle Rage me, and become immense me, and I'm like, oh, okay, nice game.
Right.
Yep, so used to it.
That's Magic today. That's just like, boom, boom, you're dead. Oh, okay, well, that was a really good interaction. I mean, ultimately, it's more like sort of a white Windrake. It's ultimately a 2-mana, or I'm sorry, a 3-mana 2/2 flyer, quote unquote.
And that's why it's double weight, because it is an upgrade.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, if you have these combat tricks that we've already talked about, and your Otherworldly Journeys or whatever, once it becomes a 2/2 or a 3/3, it's legitimately really scary. But again, in the grand scheme of things, like we've learned that like this is good, but it's not great.
Yeah. You can beat it.
Yep, it's playable though. It's very playable. I would definitely play it in pretty much all the white decks.
Oh,
Speaking of
God, terrible
three
Magic cards.
dudes, seriously, 3 dudes, seriously, Wizards.
For 3 mana, I would
three-
if I was
Dude.
paying 3 mana,
Yep.
I would much rather search my library for a card
Right.
equal to the number of lands or less converted mana cost.
Yeah.
I would probably want to give my creature plus something,
Six.
+6/+6, and lure,
Hello,
of course.
Wizards.
Maybe Flame Javelin,
Oh.
maybe 4 damage for 3 mana might
That
be
was
better.
pretty good.
But yeah,
Pretty good.
But those, come on. Council, I get to look at some number of cards. I don't even know what any of these cards did.
The blue one was. I don't even remember.
You love the blue one.
No, not like there was Advice of the Fae. Is that right? I
Yeah.
think It was, oh God.
You loved it.
Oh my God. It's
You
so
loved
good.
it. We could go back in time and watch this
Shut
again.
up, Brad.
It's on the internet. It'll live
No,
forever.
It's not. No, it's not. The card is fantastic. Spectral Procession is awesome. Always playable. I mean, it's so good. All right, so here's the real question: if you had to pay 6 mana, that's too much?
Oh, it's awful.
That's too much. But if you can pay
Yeah.
anything less than 6 mana, which means you're playing
4
with
or
white
less.
mana.
It has to be 4 or less. Like it really does. Like this card in limited can be white, green, or white, black.
Right,
Like,
right.
and the card is great.
Yeah.
But mostly I think they're bringing it back because the art is weird but awesome.
It's the one from the dual deck, I think, and this is the
I
first
never
time.
pay attention to those products.
Sure.
I always think they do brand new art. They don't, do they?
Not for everything, but for lots.
Is there some new art in this
Yeah,
set?
yeah. Well, I mean, for this set?
Yeah.
No. These are all reprints from different sets, but
I know, but I've just seen these new. I always think they do new art with Modern Masters because I never pay
Because
attention
you
to
don't-
any of the other stuff. Yes.
well, they have these ancillary products, and in them they have cards like this. Now, that allows you to have a foil Spectral Procession with this art where you couldn't before because the dual decks didn't have the
Oh,
foils.
sure.
So I thought that was neat, and that's cool, and that's for me is a good reason to reprint it. I still think it's really cool art, and you know, there's so much like nostalgia, culture,
Yeah.
attachment for me to this card. It's unbelievable.
No, I don't ever see it all the time.
I haven't signed like high double digits of Spectral Processions in my life. Sunlands card was sweet. I remember when this
Sunlands
card
was
saw
great.
lots of play, man.
Yeah, it was a great sideboard card and constructed.
Yep.
It's not the best limited card in sealed, and maybe depending on the format, but this format actually has a ton of 4 toughness.
It really does.
There's a lot of aggressive decks, so I think I would main deck one, but I want to aggressively draft these. But
Yeah.
that's me coming from not playing the set yet.
Right, we haven't played this ever, so
Yeah.
we're 100% sure. This was from Planar Chaos, is that right? Is this Planar Chaos?
I don't know.
I think.
Dude, I don't. Okay, this is how my
All right.
Magic brain works.
Here we go.
I have 2 sets, 2 blocks. That's my standard. That's my bread and butter. That's my living, right? And then once it rotates out, I just kick it out the door and it's like, you're 18, you go do whatever the hell you want to do.
Get a job!
Yeah,
I
get
don't
a job.
see you
You're-
anymore.
Yeah, bird's got to fly out of the nest sometime. And then I forget the whole set ever happened.
Cycle right through. You don't need you no
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm pretty sure it was Planar Chaos. Super cool card. Saw lots and lots of play in that standard environment. And like you said, you know, if they're playing white, obviously that's a problem. If they got a bunch of 4 toughness creatures, you're going to have to use this sort of in conjunction with another creature to finish one off. Ultimately very good and very playable, but just not like this auto include 3 of them in your main
Yeah.
deck or whatever, because you know you're hoping to get
Unless
get against
you don't have a lot of
mono.
early game and you have this really good control deck, then it's fine to do that because even if this becomes dead later on in the game, which it shouldn't always be dead, but like if you're trying to attack your opponent, so the reason I'm saying that is it's decent in aggressive decks, but I don't think it's going to work out as well as you want because when you want to attack them and they have a 4/4, this card's bad. But when you're the control deck or you have the more powerful spells, they're going to attack you with small creatures that you need to kill.
Yeah.
And so this card works way better at killing creatures that are attacking you than stopping creatures from defending from your attacks. If that sentence had structure.
Pretty sure that structure and that did make sense. Sunspear, Shikari,
All right, real quick question.
woo woo.
All right, so I have a strategy question.
Yeah.
So your opponent plays this.
Yep.
Next turn they play trained, the trained drone. I don't know, the 4/4 that it has a rest printed on it unless it's equipped.
Okay.
Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Sorta. Go on.
Okay, it's just a 3 colorless 4/4, and it can't attack or block unless it has an equipment.
Okay.
And you have an arrest in your hand. Do you arrest the 2/2 or the creature that is already arrested? This is a Player of the Year match question. Because I arrested the 4/4. So it's like, it was 12-pack silver. I'm like, if these are the 2 creatures.
I was about to say,
Yeah.
I would arrest the 4/4 because if
Yeah.
you're going to get burned, you want to get burned by the lesser creature than the larger creature.
Yep.
and you pretty well know if that's their sequence of play, you know an equipment's coming.
And I have now signed those an arrest and that card in double digits too. Like not high, but
but still,
I've
it's
enough
there.
of them. Yeah,
Enough where you knew it was there. People noticed. People gave you some crap over it.
Yeah.
This ultimately is a bear. At the end of the day, it's always a bear. So bears are good. 2-drops are good. It's always nice to have something on your curve. If you are the equipment deck, and you're just dying to get all the equipment, you're going to need a bunch to make this guy sort of live.
Yeah, I mean, there's just these decks. There's commons. It's something flare. I'm getting closer to the name of the 1-mana 1/1 living artifact. Mm-hmm. It's something flare. We'll get to it. No, I want this to be a mystery. We'll get there before it happens. But like that card comes out as a 1/1, attacks a bunch of times, and then once it dies, you get the equipment, you put it on this. Now you have a 3/3/4 striking lifelinker.
Sure.
And so it's great. So like that whole artifact themed deck is gonna love Sunspear Shikari.
Yeah, they definitely sort of put cards in here for very specific archetypes, and you can sort of tell that. And there's nothing wrong with that. You need sort of things that kind of turn you in one direction or another.
Yep.
I mean, sure, they're narrow or whatever, or linear, but it doesn't matter because sometimes you need linear strategy so you know what the hell you're doing.
I mean, that's the only way I win limited matches.
I'm
bad
Piece
at
1 with
limited.
Piece 2.
Oh
Piece
yeah,
3.
it's got to all be built for me.
I saw your ridiculous standard win percentage in Pro Tours. It's nowhere close. Your limited is nowhere near it. Your limited is just like in another state.
No, they don't even keep stats that low. They don't want aspiring pros to see how terrible some of us are at certain things. They're like, oh, that's pretty bad.
Yeah. I mean, because your standard is something like 77% or something.
No.
It wasn't that crazy.
It was like 72 or 3.
Oh, just.
But my last 2 tournaments were higher than that.
Dude, you're way too good at standard. Right, and then you kick him out of the nest. Anyway, Sunspear Shikari, cool card. Always sort of hits that curve in there, but it's not something you really pick early when you're limited drafting. And if it works, it's great.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
if it
the card's
doesn't, you
fine.
have a bear.
Yeah,
Okay.
card's is great.
Taj Nar.
All right, I have to read this
Swordsmith.
one again. You may pay X if you do
Now, this is a card you really want in the equipment deck. This is the card that kind of puts that equipment deck, like, really starts to push all the pieces together because it lets you tutor.
Yeah, but they don't have Batter Skull, so you can't play 9-mana Stoneforge Mystic.
Right.
Still worth it.
Still, yes. I can't believe they didn't print Batter Skull. Like, as soon as I saw the germ token that they spoiled, I was like,
oh, because all the other living artifacts.
Because all the other living artifacts, yep. And I was like, oh my god, I can't believe they didn't print it. But regardless, this card is really sweet. It's probably going to get your living artifacts, or living weapons, rather, sorry. Your living weapon cards, all your other equipment, of course. Like, the 4-mana thing is a problem because this card kind of costs 6 or 7 by default. Otherwise, it doesn't really do that much. But when it does what it's supposed to do,
I don't think it's
pretty
that good.
It allows you to put it directly on the battlefield, which I think is another kind of big piece.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that you are getting full value for all the mana you're putting into it. It's not like this BS where you pay 3 mana to go to 3 casting costs.
Oh no,
Equipment and put
you're
in
not
your
getting
hand.
you're not getting full value for what you put into it. This is a lemon all the time. You think if you spend a lot of mana, it's going to be worth it.
Well,
but then you're going to get in the vehicle, drive off, and it's just not going to do anything. This is not going to be good.
A 4-mana 2/3 is the thing, but it goes in the artifact deck. It goes in the equipment deck, rather. That's what I would describe it as.
I agree, and you can put it in there, but I don't think it's going to be good.
All right. Tarashi's Grasp. Ah, man, them arcane spells that you had to pay more for because they were arcane.
Well, but they're also like, this one was worth it. This card's gross and limited.
This was actually worth it. It was one of the very few that was actually worth the mana cost.
Yeah, I mean, if your opponent's playing an artifact-themed deck, you don't really need your removal spells to be efficient. Like, all their cards are going to be artifacts, so you don't have to pay 1 or 2 for it. Like, paying 3 to gain the life is pretty relevant.
It's very relevant. This is a card that, because there's so many artifacts in the set, there's just a ton of them. I don't know if I would argue against main deckiness in a lot of scenarios.
The problem with main decking is I think most decks are going to utilize their artifacts as maybe 1 or 2 here or there, but most of it's going to be mana. And I don't really know if Stone Raining your opponent with your main deck enchant removal is high impact enough. Because sometimes it's going to be dead, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's good against, like, pacifisms and the narcolepsies.
Right.
Or not pacifism, arrests and narcolepsies.
Right.
So it might be worth it, but I think this set is so powerful that I don't want dead cards because I always want to be doing my things.
Sure, and to be able to sort of take your whole turn, quote unquote, when you spend 3 mana at
There's
sorcery
a lot
speed.
of good cards in the set.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously, in a perfect world, you destroy their rusted relics and gain 4 life and yada yada. But like when you're just kind of destroying a Felwar Stone or a Fist of the Suns or whatever it is, meh.
Exactly.
Meh. Waxmane Baku, dude. I love this card so hard. This card absolutely got me into day 2 of GP Detroit back in the day. It did everything. It was like one of the most powerful, after Kabuto Moth, it was the most powerful.
No one knows what you're saying.
Shut up, Brad. I'm living in the past right now. I'm living. It's like it's black and white, and there's like little specks all over the film and stuff. And it's me just like remembering how totally sweet Waxmane Baku was.
Do you actually want another fun fact about Brad Nelson's childhood?
What?
Until I was 4 years old, I thought that TV shows were black and white because we had not yet invented color.
Wow.
Yeah. Like everything was black and white until some magic day a scientist was like, color! And then we put it on everything, even ourselves.
Oh my God. All right. So this card is fantastic in limited. I know it doesn't look like much, but just any number of spirit and arcane spells, and this guy starts to just take over the game, to be able to tap their creatures at the end of their turn, to tap their creatures proactively to get your guys through. Like, this card was awesomely awesome in Kamigawa, which was absolutely full of spirit and arcane spells. It's probably not as good in this environment, but I'm telling you, this guy did a ton more work than anyone ever expected back then, and it was great.
I just got it. It's covered in candles because it's Waxmane.
Mm-hmm.
I just got it. Can I ask what the flavor of Champions was? You have to know why there is a walking candle dog thing on the picture. Because to me, I don't get the art. Like, I feel like a couple planeswalkers showed up and they ate the wrong fruit, and it just like, it was acid, and they're just walking around this world seeing things like this.
They ate the wrong fruit. Hashtag ate wrong fruit.
I mean, that's what it looks like to me. Like, this looks like Sarkis walking around being like, what is this? And killing random things that are just innocent, like, not there for any trouble.
Oh.
Because what is that thing?
I don't know, Brad. It's a good creature. That's all I know.
It
It's
is
a
a
bunch
good
of
creature.
random candles. It's really good creature. I'm telling you, it's better than you probably think it is. All is dust, down to a rare. Used to be mythic, as I recall.
Yeah.
Each player sacrifices all colored permanents he or she controls. That doesn't, in this environment, necessarily mean that you're always going to wrath their board, because there's a lot of artifacts, a lot of colorless creatures, and we'll get to those in just a second, including this one. But, you know, it's basically a wrath is a wrath is a wrath.
And this card is very good.
Yes. It's not. I'm not trying to say that it's bad.
Oh, no,
anyway.
I know, yeah.
I'm just saying there's a good, more than likely chance that they might be left with like one thing, maybe two things, but it depends on what those things are. If you're playing against like the artifact deck or the equipment deck, they might have a bit more things left over. But regardless, like 9 times out of 10, this is just good old fashioned like wipe everything, which is super super powerful.
Now, there aren't any planeswalkers in this set, are there? I don't think there is.
Yeah, yes there is.
Which?
It starts with a K. And it was Arn liberated.
Oh, wait, no. There is a different one too. It's my favorite planeswalker. It got me on the Pro Tour.
Which one was that? Like a Johnny?
No.
Oh.
It has something in common with a 2/2 for colorless white that has prowess that gains life whenever you cast a spell as well.
You're not telling me, dude. I'm sorry.
Tezzeret.
Oh yeah, the Seeker. Yeah,
Yeah.
that guy. Yeah. I always was sort of underwhelmed by that guy.
Well, it got me on the Pro Tour and made my career, and I'm sitting in this spot because of that card, so
Yeah.
it's not that underwhelming.
Wow, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Fantastic. Okay, all this does. Really good sweeper. Always play it. Thanks. Artisan of Kozilek. This is where you kind of need those Eldrazi creatures that are
drones.
making they're making the spawn, as it were. There is Dread Drone that makes spawn.
Yeah.
But with the Eldrazi spawn, you're able to actually get to 9 mana.
Were
and
they
of
called
course,
Spawn? I thought they were called drones.
Nope, they were spawn.
Oh, were they?
Yep. And because I love this limited format, Rise of the Eldrazi Unlimited was amazing.
Yeah,
It was awesome.
I drafted it like 15 times for the Pro Tour.
Yep.
Went OX in my team drafts. Didn't win a match.
Right.
Wanted to kill myself for the Pro Tour. Somehow 6-0, thought I learned the format. Didn't. Ben Stark said that those two decks were the worst two decks he's ever seen, and thought he cheated his way to go 6-0. He didn't really think I did.
No,
But he's like, you had to cheat it. Like, there's no way you could have done that. Then I drafted the biggest tournament. If you guys want something interesting to go look through the archives, go watch the draft viewer from that top 8. You will lose all faith in me.
That was in Puerto Rico, right?
San Juan.
San Juan.
Yeah.
San Juan, Puerto Rico. Yeah, that was good times. I was there for that one. It was fun.
It was fun.
It was super fun.
This card was great there because it not only annihilates them, but you get to bring creatures back.
Yep. Regardless of what happens to it, they try to counter it, whatever. If it dies, doesn't matter. You're getting something back, and you have a freaking 10-9 with an Annihilator 2. Like, this thing actually, if you're able to play it, and it resolves, and they don't immediately kill it, it's probably just going to win the game from there. It's just nuts.
I'm pretty sure the saying when worlds collide is because how the Eldrazi work. They just go to worlds and kill them.
Yeah.
And destroy them. But like, I just see the worlds colliding as an artisan getting back Muldrifter. Pretty much Muldrifter is one of my favorite cards of all time.
Yes.
And I'm pretty much just going to only combo that with the cards in the set, and you'll get really sick of it. Just foreshadow.
Just enjoy it. Just take it in and be in this Muldrifter world that we love. Card is fantastic. Unbelievable. You know what was a common in Lorwyn?
Yeah.
It was a common.
It's not a common anymore?
It's uncommon.
I quit.
No.
I'm not going to Vegas.
You know that card should not be common.
It should be rare.
No.
So good.
Woo! Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn, the biggest creature in Magic the Gathering, ladies and gentlemen. The biggest. The number one.
The biggest creature, ladies and gentlemen. The biggest.
The biggest. Does all the things.
It's good art, too.
It's great.
He's a
art.
happy fellow to be that big, too.
Oh, I love it. I hope they bring back another version of Emrakul for Battle for Zendikar, or some.
Wow!
Like, you think they're actually going to top this card in Battle for Zendikar?
They're going to make a bigger one,
right? A 16 mana card.
No, I don't. I just don't like the problem with having cards that cost this much mana is they had to build the entire limited format around casting it.
Yeah.
So like the see what I want them to do is I would love them to say the storyline is they killed Emrakul.
Okay.
But he fell into little tiny Eldrazi. And now there's little tiny Eldrazi running around, and they all have a
spawn even, right?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
not Eldrazi spawn.
The Eldrazi drop.
But smaller ones. I would love to see an Eldrazi that's a 4 mana that has Annihilator 1, but doesn't have a ton of abilities. Those kind of cards are pretty broken, I guess, if you ramp into them and just start making them sack lands.
Seems totally broken, but sure,
But
whatever.
I don't want them to make bigger creatures than Emrakul.
This is one of those cards that, again, I love the Magic Finance is always really fascinating to me. I have nothing to do with that at SCG, so I just kind of watch it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, that card is $40 now. And I'm like, holy cow! I remember when it wasn't, and it was Kozilek was the first one spoiled, if you remember that, and everyone was it's this card's 10 mana or whatever it was, and everyone's like, no one's going to cast this, and everyone's like, yes, they totally are, and you remember World Wake, and blah, 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 they spoiled this card early, yada, yada, and then all these Eldrazi just came out, and the foil versions are just ridiculously infinite, and everyone loves these crazy huge creatures. I can't wait to see them come back. They had to stick everything on this card. They just get a Time Walk and this Annihilator thing, and this blah is huge, and can't attack them with colored spells and stuff. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I do make jokes about Emrakul, but Emrakul is pretty responsible for all the success I've had. If you think about it, it has won me an Invitational and the Players' Champs.
You were named 5 cards that are responsible for everything in your life.
I've said Tezzeret, and now Emrakul.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then when we get to Gristlebrand,
Uh-huh.
then I'll name that.
All right.
I don't think it's in the set.
No, it's not. I don't know what you're doing.
This is a nostalgic set. It's all cards that I've been...
It is a nostalgic set. I love it.
Should I start also telling you about all the cards that beat me a lot? I could do that. That's more depressing, though. This card's beat me a lot.
This card has beaten you to death often.
I've never been the one to play the Karn decks, like the Tron decks.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I did at the last Pro Tour, and it didn't go well.
Yep.
But we don't talk about that.
There has never been a point, whether I've been cubing or whether I've been playing in Limited, and at the time it was Scars Limited, there was never a point in my life in which I have resolved Karn Liberated and lost. Ever.
Really?
The card is just nuts.
You don't
it
play
goes
enough-
up to 10 loyalty.
You don't play enough Modern because...
No, I don't. I
actually
absolutely do not. I don't
can
play a lot of
actually
Modern.
say every time my opponent's ever cast a Karn, it has either gotten remanded or I've Splinter Twin comboed them the next turn.
I can also say that I have beaten Karn many times cast against me, but whenever I got to play it, and again, this was a very limited experience, I don't play a ton of Modern, but I always won. It was great, and the card's super, super powerful. I love it. I love the fact that it worked perfectly with Tron lands, that you're able to go directly into that guy. I like the fact that Ugin is right behind him now, which is really cool to come out the next turn. Karn into Ugin is just nuts. And yeah, Karn Liberate he's quite the dude.
Oh yeah, Karn's great.
Yep, super powerful. Obviously, if we have to tell you these things, pick him first and play him.
Oh yeah, if this is you always play this card. Always, it doesn't matter. It's I've never seen it when it was out in Limited before. It was in a set where there was just a ton of awesome Limited bombs.
We're talking about New Phyrexia?
I don't remember when it came out.
That's what I recall.
Yeah, New Phyrexia Scars Block.
Yeah.
Scars Block was just all 6 and 7 bombs.
Yeah, there were tons.
There's just a ton. When your opponent played a 6-drop, you went,
just don't hurt me too hard. But yeah, Karn Liberated absolutely would take the game over, and just does take games over. In Limited, it's just nuts. And it goes in every deck, literally. It doesn't matter. You get to 7 mana and play this ridiculous thing. It's great. Also worth a ton of money. Speaking of money, goes Butcher of Truth. All the Eldrazi's are worth the cash dollars, and
I've never understood why he has such a tiny head.
he is Dude, he's just like this thing.
Yeah,
It's
I
dude.
don't know what's going on.
It's like a
there.
super villain or something. Like he's been there, like and it was like
it's
a
like the
little
Hulk
pod.
Smasher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the Hulkbuster.
The Hulkbuster, yeah.
Yeah, the Veronica suit or whatever he called him. Man, that movie was great. But yeah, Kozilek Butcher of Truth, the first creature that was ever revealed for Rise of the Eldrazi. They had like this really cool like animation thing that happened on the website. Remember
That was like the first one too, right?
Yeah, it was the very first card, and everyone was just like, "Oh my God, his card is huge, and it costs 10 mana, and it does all these things, and blah 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 blah."
I think it was the first time they used animation on a Magic card too. I think.
Oh, you mean like were there commercials?
Yes, I think that.
That might have been the first
I
commercial.
think that was the big one. Like they put out all the bells and whistles for Eldrazi.
Yep. This is when they kind of harkened into what they called battle cruiser magic, which is everyone kind of like has like in Rise of the Eldrazi was like a lot of walls.
If you're gonna say
a lot of
battle
oath
cruiser
wars.
Magic, we're gonna talk about what actual battle cruisers are.
Right?
StarCraft.
Starcrafts.
It's when I used to be a battle cruiser StarCraft player before I was a battle cruiser Magic player.
I see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to know what a battle cruiser actually. No, I'm just not.
No, I don't need to know.
I don't know how long I have to go
that
on
I need
this.
to build towards like the top of the mountain, and at the top of the mountain are these creatures. You resolve these creatures. It's just like it's nuts. It's almost game over by default. And they all saw a ton of play. Not only Kozilek, tell me Ulamog is next. Well, Crusher is. So close.
All right, so battle cruisers have 400 HP. Their range is 12.
Oh my God! I don't even know what you're saying anymore, man. I haven't played
They have the
StarCraft in a long time.
Yamazuda Blast. I don't remember, and I'm making up stuff.
Yeah, you are. What I like most about Ulamog's Crusher, and again, this was an 8-mana common in Rise of the Eldrazi. They didn't change the rarity or lower the rarity. It was an 8-mana common in that set. But the cool thing about this card was that bad players couldn't screw it up.
Yep.
And you had to attack with this card, which means you had to get the value out of it, which means you couldn't misplay it. And so, one of the things that I remember them sort of saying at the time was, a lot of new players like to get like big, huge creatures like this and they just never attack with them, right? Because they have this awesome wall that no one wants to attack in. So why would they even risk it, right? And this guy, he makes you attack and he gets the Sweet Annihilator trigger and he's still a huge monster. And he can just win games on his own.
Yeah, which I think is so cool. Like development, once they're like working on these cards at Wizards, pulls like people from other departments to like do test runs with their cards.
Yeah.
And which is also sweet. I really think that you guys should allow us to play Magic on the clock. That would be nice.
Right.
I would like to do that.
Right. If only we paid you for playing Magic.
Yeah, sometime. It'd be great.
Maybe.
But what's so cool is they just watch the employees play that just that don't play that often, that just are like in accounting and other departments, and they would just put all the Eldrazi in play and they're like, it's too big, I don't want to attack with it. Like
exactly.
I just paid so much mana for it, it's so much bigger than all my opponent's creatures.
Yep.
We're just gonna hold it back.
Yep. And now it's like you can't misplay it. You can't play it wrong.
And now that I don't think there's ever a correct decision to hold an Eldrazi back.
No,
I've never seen one situation where you just don't attack with it. Because even
you
if
have
you attack and
Annihilator-
they triple block it and it dies, it's like a 5 or 6 for 1. Like, how are they coming back from that?
Yeah, the Annihilator automatically gives you that's the for 1, and then like you get everything else beyond that,
And
for 2 or for 3 or for 1 or whatever.
Yeah, and in the set where they had all of these Eldrazi, you made them sacrifice their creatures and lands to kill this. Well, the creatures as in they have to block and kill it, and they lose some lands, so they can't play the Eldrazi against you.
Yeah!
So it's like a race to LD.
Oh, it totally was. And it was great. And again, Annihilator 2, super powerful. We have Ulamog the Infinite Gyre, which is it's much stronger, bigger daddy dude. And
One of the best cards, the best Eldrazi in Q, by far.
yeah, absolutely.
Easily.
Because you needed to destroy a permanent. And it actually saw some constructive play. I remember back in the day when Flores, did he put it in like Caw-Blade's sideboard so he could kill Jace?
No.
I remember this. I can't remember what it was. It was sort of like, because it was uncounterable. Because it's just if you cast it, you destroy a permanent.
No,
whether or
this
not
card's-
they counter
Oh,
it.
yeah. The removal spell's uncounterable.
Yes, so that's what he was saying. He was like, well, it doesn't matter if they try to mana leak or whatever. You're still getting the value out of it, so you can still destroy the thing.
Mike
that's killing it.
Flores, always having to do something new.
Michael J. It does. Either way, this card is super great. Very,
Do you
very
know how I
powerful.
beat? Do you know what I used to deal with Jace?
I do this deal.
Spell Pierce. Like
Stop
mana
it.
leak.
Yes.
Like ways to actually deal with it, not Ulamog.
Yeah, not Ulamog, not the 11 mana answer, the 1 mana answer. You might have this Magic game figured out.
just
You might
play the
have
cheap
something
cards,
going on here. Card is super good. It's one of those you can't really automatically play because it's 11 mana. I know it sounds a little silly because we were talking about Mox Crusher and he's great and he's playable and blah, blah, blah.
You would turn 6 that card usually.
Yeah, but 8 mana with the Eldrazi spawn versus 11 mana, it's sometimes a little, you kind of got to stretch a little bit.
It's kind of like the limited thing where 6 mana is pretty easy to get to, 7's a little tough, 8 is almost impossible in a normal limited format. Because by the time you get to 8, you didn't have enough resources to stay alive against your opponent's 4 and 5 drops to get to 8 mana.
Right.
But with all these drones, if you really want to play these you need a ton of the Eldrazi spawn.
Yep, you really do. But if you got them, card is nuts.
Yeah.
You're going to win shortly thereafter. Alloy Mirror, 3 mana 2/2 that taps for color. This is always fantastic.
Oh, I screwed it up. I didn't actually.
You said Palladium, not.
I thought it was Palladium. I thought Alloy Mirror is the one that they spoil. I thought this set had Palladium Mirror.
Nope.
The one that makes 2 mana.
Right.
We're stuck with the one that makes any colored mana.
Just any color. It's just basically playable in every limited deck ever.
Just the cutest, best foil card ever.
It is absolutely adorable. The foil is.
I remember we call shotted this foil too. We're like, this card is going to look unbelievable foil.
Mm-hmm,
and then
sure
it did.
Yep, absolutely.
It was the one and only time we've ever call shotted something in this room, and we were correct.
Yeah, there's that thing when we're just like, oh, it was Utah Dragon Lord. I bet it's pretty good. It seems okay. Next.
To be fair, I did figure that out after the video or after we did it. I thought about it for a while, and I told all my friends to just spec on it like crazy. And they're like, "Do you really think this card's going to go up?" And I'm like, "It's a hexproof flying dragon for 5 mana that draws cards. It's gonna be expensive." And so I didn't even know. And then JVL's like, "So I should spec on this?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "All right, I tied up a lot of money," and a lot. And I'm like, I hope I'm right.
Dear God, please. No, but Alloy Mirror, absolutely fantastic. Card goes in basically every limited deck that you're going to play. You don't really pick it super early, but if you got nothing else to do, man, this card's always playable.
Yeah,
always.
no, I mean it's good for when you have a lot of 5 and 6s. I wouldn't play it to excel into 4 drops, but it does actually help accelerate you with all the lands we'll get to.
Right, and again, any color means it fixes all of your mana, no matter what kind of weird things you're trying to do with it. Blinding Soul Eater, your 3 mana 1/3s.
This card is so good.
The card is very, very, very good, and you need something like this to just, and it doesn't matter if you're in white or not, but of course the 2 life is going to start to add up after a while. You really want to be in white. If you're in white, it's unreal, and if you're not in white, it's still playable.
Yeah, I might regret what I'm going to say right now.
What you going to say?
I'm going to say that tappers have been my favorite thing in Magic forever. And one of these days they're like, we have so many new players and tappers are kind of complex. We're just going to cut them. And so I wish all of you never joined Magic.
Bradley, Jay,
I'm kidding.
Say stuff like that. I need my tappers in my life.
No, but yes, tappers I love, and I'm so glad that they printed another one for us to play with, because this is nostalgia for me. Like I used to love playing with creatures that tapped other creatures. I know. Yeah. I didn't ask for much when I was growing up,
Yeah. Stop it. And the real cool thing about Blinding Soul Eater is that if they have a 4/4 and you have a Blinding Soul Eater, it doesn't matter if you have white or not. If you're like, I'll pay 2 life so you don't take 4 out of mine.
Yep.
So at that point it's just sort of a value straight up. And even if they have a 2/2 whatever, you're able to still pay 2 life to say, yes, you still hit me with it, but now I can get past your creature if you were trying to block with it. So it has a ton of play regardless of whether or not you're playing white mana, and if you are, obviously it just gets way, way better.
To be fair, it does get a little dicey to not be playing it with white mana. You do want access to white mana when you're playing this card, but you can free roll it. You can play an Azorius Chancery and this card in your deck, and then sometimes you won't be able to activate it with life, but every once in a while you'll be able to. So there's value to having white in your deck to play with this card.
But it's still very, very good, always playable, pick it early, so on and so forth. Here is Cathodian.
I'm so glad that was a spoof article that came out a couple weeks ago about mana burn.
Oh,
this guy would hurt.
Oh my God, that was so stupid. Anyway, so yeah, this card, I mean, it dies. You had 3 mana in your mana pool.
There's
if
a couple
it dies
sack
in the
outlets.
combat step, it does something. There are some sack outlets where maybe you can combo it to get out
to
of Eldrazi.
play. Yep. That's what I was just about to say. This card, there will be some cool things you can do with this card. I think it's just a generically average card to play with, and you probably won't be using that 3 mana often, but it's still 3/3 for 3. But if you have some pieces that come together, you're going to be able to play an Eldrazi way too early in a game.
Yeah, and 3 mana 3/3s are still fine. You know what I mean? It's not like, and because there's no mana burn, you're not going to get hurt or anything. And for those who have no idea what we're talking about, it used to be if you had mana left over in your mana pool and you went to your next phase and you didn't use it, you lost life equal to the mana that you had left over. I know that sounds about as dumb as I just explained it, but
that's why Mindslavers actually say this does not cause mana burn, because the idea was people, if they didn't say that, you'd be like, all right,
Tap all
you
your
up,
mana.
and you take like 8 damage.
Yeah, take a damage equal to the number of lands you have. Ta-da! So, and there were some cards that would like give you mana, and that was seen as like a drawback at the time, and like it's just.
Oh yeah,
silly.
there was a mana
Was that the
prism.
The one from Cold
artifact.
Spec or the Cold Snap one? Remember the red one that during your upkeep would make a red mana?
No, oh that those
every
things
turn it would
too.
make
Yeah.
Spear or something.
Yeah,
or-
but there was just an artifact from Ravnica, Spotlight.
Oh yeah, Spectral Spotlight.
Spectral Spotlight that would give any player mana. And so like in limited, you'd be like, hey, your end step, give you a blue. And they're like playing black green. They're like, okay, take a burn. So it was just like it was a mana rock that pinged your opponent. The rules were stupid. Like,
yes, they were.
When everyone's like, damage on this deck is a vital part of Magic, I'm like, oh, shut up. This is great.
God, yes, people who just can't handle the change, and we're like, no, this could be bad. This could be bad. 3 mana, 3/3 is still fine. Chimeric Mass. Very, very good. Was always like crazy, crazy good for me in limited. Every single time I played it, it was almost always a 5/5 or a 6/6. You can run it out early, but I don't really like to. I always like to kind of build up to this type of card, and be able to really just pump everything you got into it, so you make a 6/6 or whatever. And then at that point, like it's just got to be answered.
Yeah, it's such a big creature. And yeah, these are good cards. This is like the way to give non-green decks Hydras, because green has so many cool abilities in Magic that they should give them to the other colors.
Yeah. I mean, green was so good back in the early days of Magic, and even through the middle, sort of.
Yeah, it was just like drawing 3 cards or adding 3 mana or taking extra turns. That's not us.
Nah.
We're gonna give our creatures +3/+3. That's
My Giant Growth versus your Ancestral Recall.
Yep.
Chimeric Mass is very good and always play it. Copper Carapace. Here we go. Here's an equipment. Wait. And you can't block, so you're going to be smashing. This is for the aggro deck. This is the core duelist deck. This is what you want to play after you play a core duelist and you play the Sunspear Shikari. This is the card. Well, not necessarily. You're like, this is like, oh, I'm looking forward to my Copper Carapace. All I'm saying is, it's an equipment that you want to have in your hand when you play a bunch of cards that care about equipment.
When fetch needs to happen, Copper Carapace is there for you.
Make it happen. And as a result, depending on the theme that you are drafting, it tells you how highly you want to pick this in the first place. It's a card that you could kind of suck it up and take it early.
You just will all of these. And because here's the benefit. If you need to play them, they'll come to you. And if they don't come to you, that means other people are playing them.
Right.
So,
but if other people are the equipment deck and they took away your cool equipment,
then you probably should start picking up the Mull Drifters.
There you go. All the Mull Drifters.
All the Mull Drifters.
Every Mull Drifter. Cranial Plating. This card was real fair. This card, I love it because when you went back to the time of Fifth Dawn, where affinity was everywhere. It was just like ruining Magic. It was so bad. It was like killing people on turn 4 every single game. It was just the most unfair, stupid Magic ever. And then they were like, well, we're adding this card to the environment. After affinity is doing all of its craziness with Arcbound Ravager and Disciple of the Vault, this card.
No, what actually happened, like, you're missing the most vital part.
What?
They banned all the cards, and then people are like, oh, screw affinity, and sold all their affinity cards. And then or just like put them in the back corner of their box, and then they printed this right after they banned a bunch of cards, and pretty much the world went, what? Like we all were just like, so you banned Affinity to make Affinity, and then literally just a different version of Affinity took over the format.
Yeah.
And it was arguably better because. Like
because your Ornithopters were nuts.
Well, Skull Clamp was good in Affinity,
right?
But it made all these other decks great too.
Right.
It was just probably the best Skull Clamp deck, but all the other ones are really good Skull Clamp decks, and a really good Skull Clamp deck is better than literally every other deck. And so when everyone couldn't play that card anymore, a format had to evolve, and other decks had to start doing different things, but they gave Affinity back just a busted card.
Oh, between this and Springleaf Drum and Ornithopter, and it was just like, all right, I'll just get out my Cranial Plating and then just kill you, and I'll have enough black mana to move it everywhere I wanted to go.
I played Magic for like 9 months and then took second in a 550-person Moto tournament where first gets to go to Worlds.
Woo!
Yeah, but I didn't know what I was doing and I got that far. Like, it was just Shreddablest in this card, and I was like, I'm good at Magic.
It's like giving a 3-year-old like a shotgun. It's like,
yeah, we don't know what we're doing, but we're going to kill you.
Someone's going to get shot. It's going to be bad. You're not going to know what's happening.
They went dark.
They really went dark. Bad. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go that hard. Anyway, so you were talking about sacrifice outlets. Culling Dice is a way to sacrifice a creature and put a charge counter on it, and you can draw cards for it if you want to sack it, which is fine. But like, this is the part where you kind of have some combo-y type stuff.
Oh yeah, this is going to be like, there's going to be like the person that's new to Magic that hasn't played Magic for a long time, and they're going to build their deck, and it's going to be very straightforward. And then there's going to be the guy that's played Magic for like 20 years,
right?
And just plays a Culling Dice, and he's like, I'm going to kill you in exactly 17 turns.
I'm going to play my Eldrazi
Yeah, you
spawn.
just have
I'm
all
going to
these sweet
sacrifice my little
little
spawn,
things.
all my color dice. I'm going to draw 7 cards off my dice, and blah, 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 blah. Like, that's sort of like living the dream. Like, this is a card that is okay. It works well with the proliferate, which is a thing that we'll get to in other colors.
And it's going to be way better in this set than it was back then.
Sure.
Because there's so many more tokens, there's so many themes to the tokens, like the 3/3 that we saw before, stacking that to get 3 mana to make an Eldrazi happen. Like, you play this, and then that, and then on turn 4 you can just play Karn. It's a common, uncommon, rare combo, which can happen. It's pretty sweet.
Of course it can. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And you can ramp into your mythic Uber Bombs.
Yep.
Yay! But it's a really weird role player. This isn't a card that you kind of just like throw in any deck. You really have to know what you're doing when you have this card in your deck. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? And what combos are you really trying to piece together? Because you want to be able to know, like, because I have this in my hand or because I have this on the board, now my dice is much better than it was, or this is the way I need to play as a result.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
Dark Steel Axe.
The best. I love this card.
Well, because they couldn't reprint Bone Splitter because Bone Splitter was stupid and they didn't know how to print. They didn't know how to price equipment back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, we'll make this an indestructible." And it should have been like, this is what Bone Splitter should have been, was a 1-mana artifact with a 2-mana equip. But instead they made it 1/1, and that's real fair.
It was very good.
It was stupidly crazy good.
But
and
oddly enough, not good enough to make the cut for any affinity deck.
no. And then they were like, cranial plating law.
Yeah.
You know, they did what they did. But Dark Steel Axe it's still a good card. Like, you know, even if Bone Splitter cost 2 to equip back in Mirrodin or Dark Steel, it would still be just as good.
Yeah.
You know, at 2 mana.
And I love back then, like, Indestructible was still such a unique ability that they put, like, the sweet aura around the axe. Like, that's the magic that is Indestructible. And now they just slap that on anything. It's just like a tag you get at the store. They're like, all right, this is off sale. Like,
all right. It's like, it's like
now,
off center. It's like indestructible.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything anymore because no one,
We're used to it, yeah.
Yeah.
I want a new ability, Wizards.
Yeah.
I want you to blow our minds again.
Etch Champion. Check out that artwork.
That kind of blows my mind. That is really good artwork.
Artwork is fantastic. I love it.
There's a reason why that's on like all the banners for
Yeah,
the set. It's so good.
Igor Karulik, I think is his name. And he did a fantastic job. Card is fantastic. Obviously, he's a ton of play in Affinity and Modern. One of those cards that needs to be reprinted. It's super, super powerful. The most powerful Metalcraft card, arguably other than Mox Opal, that we'll get to.
I hate that this needs to get reprinted. I just don't want to die to this anymore.
You will die to this card.
I have many times in my life.
It will kill you dead.
Yes, more times than not.
Obviously, working with your Dark Steel Axes and your Cranial Plays and such and whatnot, like anything you're able to stick on this card, artifact-wise, is just going to kill your opponent faster. Is great. Like, card is awesome. This is the type of card that you open in draft that you're able to say, like, okay, I'm the Metalcraft deck.
Yeah, I'm going to work really hard to be this deck.
Yep.
Because the card is so good.
It is stupidly good. You generally want to wait and not play it until you got Metalcraft, until it makes Metalcraft or whatever, because you don't want to be in that situation where you play your third artifact and they kill it. And then you're like, oh.
Well, if you play this as a third artifact, you have to kill a different artifact and then that.
Exactly.
And in Limited, it's rare that they're going to be able to do that. Like, even
What I'm saying
Constructed.
is you don't play it with just one artifact out.
No, yes.
That's what I meant. It's like you don't play like him and this other thing, and then you play your third artifact so it then has all the protections, and then they just kill it because derp. And then you're bad.
Yeah.
Don't do that. That's bad. Etch Monstrosity went down from Mythic down to Rare.
Deservedly so. It's not that good.
No, it never was.
I've never seen this card played. I had to reread it, and I was like, oh yeah, that was a thing back then.
Yeah, a 5-mana 5/5 that maybe under a certain light, when you hold your mouth right, and you have all these weird alloy mirrors.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, this card was like, I loved it was being a Mythic because back then Wizards gave us this promise. They're like, all right, so Mythics are going to feel like Mythic Magickas. They're going to be big,
crazy,
splashy, unbelievably powerful. And now it's like, every good card in Standard's a Mythic.
Yeah.
You need all of them.
You need every single one of them.
Yeah.
Cash, dollar.
If it's a legendary creature that is going to see play, it's a Mythic.
It's
Gotcha.
funny. It's funny how that works out. It's weird, isn't it? Crazy. And as a result, you have this card where you're like, I don't even know if I want to play with a 5-mana 5/5. I guess it's fine. I mean, it's good. It's going to be good, obviously, in the Metalcraft decks more than the other decks, but a 5-mana 5/5 is fine. Mm-hmm. It's not terrible. And if should you ever get to that magical ability, well, congratulations. Etched Oracle. I loved this card back in the day. It was super cool.
All do, and I don't even know why. It wasn't even that good. It was fine.
No, it wasn't. It was just always about that dream.
We just loved it. Yeah, we just loved the idea of spending 5 mana to draw 4 cards and the card not be Tidings.
Yes. I mean, well, technically it drew 3 cards, but still.
Oh, 3 cards, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Jace's
that.
Ingenuity.
Yes, the Jace's Ingenuity that you had to work really, really hard for.
But once you did, it felt very good and you probably still lost.
Sunburst was super cool. I like
Yep.
Sunburst as a mechanic. I wish they would bring it back in some fashion because I thought it was really cool. It kind of it led you down a certain path in terms of using your mana different ways and making sure you had a bunch of different ways to make it a bunch of different mana. But as a result, you know, Etched Oracle was kind of living the dream. I still think the art's really cool.
Oh, yeah.
I always feel like that's like his bottom lip or something. It's really weird. But yeah, the card is sweet. And if you're a 4-mana 4/4, you basically have a 1 mana up all the time to say at any point in time I have this like release valve of I draw 3 cards.
Yep.
And that's great. Everflowing Chalice. Wow, this card was amazing in World Wake. Absolutely amazing. Super playable in every single deck. Like, it's just like, this is one of those, like, I guarantee you should play this in every deck in this format. I don't care if it's sealed, limited, you always play this card.
I don't believe that.
This card is great.
It is, but like, there's going to be aggressive decks that you're not going to want acceleration.
Man, really?
Yeah.
Not any?
No.
Have you played? You remember Chalice? Man, Chalice is
I won a
is
GB
bomb.
with this card.
Okay. Great. Okay, fair enough. I guess if you're like the Court Duelist dot deck and you just like have to be, you're super crazy aggressive.
Or if you're like some green-red deck, like sometimes this card is really good if you have expensive stuff, but like
Yeah.
the green decks are all about like curving out like creatures. Like they're the Scion deck, like
Right, but
so
don't
like
you
they
want
to no they
mana
want to play
acceleration?
no you want to play creatures so that your Scions get bigger. There's a common in the set that's colors green. I don't. It's the rare that turned to common.
Okay.
That like gets power top to equal number of creatures you control.
Yeah, Sign
so
of
you
the
just
Wild.
want Sign of the Wild. So you just want to dump a bunch of creatures. You don't want this.
I'm not arguing against that. I'm saying like this is the type of card that gets you to those dragons. You know what I mean? That you're able to pull. Or those big
No, that
fatties
was
at 5
last
and
set.
6.
That was last set.
Oh.
No, there's decks that specifically want this because they're gonna want to like play it on turn 4
Sure.
to help excel. But like, there's a lot of decks like this is gonna be a mana ramp deck because I think the mana ramp decks are gonna be under a lot of pressure from the aggressive decks.
Okay.
And so like, if you're an aggressive deck, I don't think you want to be playing both, like ramping and beating down.
I mean, I guess it depends on what's the top of your curve, right?
No,
Really?
no, you just have to play your creatures.
Fine.
You gotta kill them, man.
Whoa.
You don't have to be all cutesy.
Fine. As usual in Magic, there are no absolute truths ever.
Ever.
Dang it. Expedition Map.
Really?
Cool card.
I didn't even know this was in the set.
All right.
They just need them more because people love Tron.
I guess. I mean, you know, it's like one of those things that like you don't want to. Was it in a common back in Zendikar?
It might have been. I don't know.
Might have been. Either way, it was a card that was cool. There's definitely some cards that are like pushing you to play a lot of different colors. Obviously, we just saw a Sunburst card, and this is the type of card that lets you get just any land you got.
To be fair, Karus were so powerful in Ravnica block, but we couldn't search for them. And now, like, given the fact, I'm pretty sure that if you play this on turn 1, turn 2, you could like play a 2-drop, and then the next turn you crack this and play a Karu.
Right.
Like it's gaining 2 card advantage because that's how good Karus are.
Yeah. Karus are absolutely amazing. The Karus being the lands that come into play tapped, and you return a land, and then they make 2 different colors of mana.
I don't know why they were called Karus either, but that's what people called them.
Because of Visions was the first time that card existed, and it was called Karu, and it made a white and a colorless mana. When it entered the battlefield, you had to return a card, you had to return a land, and it tapped for a white and colorless.
Oh, that makes so much. I should have asked in the last 5 years.
I can imagine if there is a fan out there who is hardcore enough.
Or 8 years.
Yeah, I believe we've talked about this before, but regardless, that was a thing. We're a bunch of old men.
Yeah, goldfish.
Yep. What?
Yeah, what are we doing right now? Can
What's
I go
happening?
home?
This is weird. Expedition Map is great. It's awesome turn 1 play. It enables you to kind of have it sitting out there, fixes your mana, finds your Karus. Like, it's a really
Gives
sweet card.
and takes away Metalcraft.
It giveth and
Yeah,
taketh
take it
away.
away.
Flare Husk.
All right, Flare. I did get Flare right? Did I say Flare?
I thought you said Flare like Flair, like the flare that
No,
you
I knew it
wear.
was Flare.
Flare Husk. Now, if
Yeah.
you had said Flare, I still wouldn't have gotten it.
Flare Husk.
But this card was super sweet. All I remembered about the one that was a +1/+1 for living weapon was the hand. I remember the weird fingery looking thing that's going on there, and like there's a little brain thing on top, which is neat. But this card was super cool, super playable in Scars Limited, very, very good all the time. Obviously great in the equipment, aggressive decks, and is fantastic.
I've already talked about it 3 times.
We can talk about the moat, but hope
It's not working.
Hope.
I think we ended on the card we couldn't figure out the whole day. So
Yes!
poetic.
Yes, I'm glad you guys were with us to experience the struggle. It was real until we found it.
It's an everyday struggle, guys.
Every single day.
Every single day.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that is all of the white cards, the colorless cards, and the first half of the artifact cards of Modern Masters 2015. Thank you guys very much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Until next time, this is Evan Irwin.
Brad Nelson,
Tapping the cards.
so you don't have to.
See ya.